The U.S. Coast Guard says that all 5 people on board the missing Titan submersible died after a catastrophic implosion. They said pieces of the sub have been found on the ocean floor around 500 meters from the wreck of the Titanic. It has emerged that the U.S. Navy had already reported sounds consistent with an implosion on Sunday. It's not clear why this information is only coming to light now.
After days of urgent searching, rescue efforts for the Titan took a grim turn. The US Coast Guard, along with Canadian, British and French teams, scoured 20,000 square kilometres. Their extensive search uncovering pieces of the sub scattered on the ocean floor.
An ROV, or remote-operated vehicle, from the vessel Horizon Arctic discovered the tail cone of the Titan submersible approximately 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic on the seafloor.
Extreme pressure appears to have crushed the 6.5-metre vessel, killing the 5 men on board. They included the pilot, who was also the CEO of the company leading the expedition, Ocean Gate. The company was on its 3rd trip to explore the Titanic, despite various safety concerns about its expeditions to the deep-sea wreck.
It's just tragic, and it's horrific, and it's unnecessary. And by the way, it's not lost on me as somebody who's studied the meaning of Titanic. It's greater meaning to us, historically and societally, that it's about warnings that were ignored. That ship's lying at the bottom of the ocean, not because of the nature of its steel or the nature of its compartments, but just because of bad seamanship.
The company released a statement expressing condolences for the families of those killed. Other passengers included a French submarine expert, a British billionaire, and a Pakistani-British business tycoon and his son. Rescuers couldn't confirm whether the bodies of those killed could be recovered.
So this is an incredibly unforgiving environment down there on the seafloor. And the debris is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. And so we'll continue to work and continue to search the area down there, but I don't have an answer for prospects at this time.
Underwater robots will keep searching for clues about what happened to the Titan. Its remains now lying alongside the wreck it set out to explore on the Atlantic Ocean floor.
And for more, let's bring in DW science journalist Anna Karthaus, joining us for a bit of insight in what happened to the Titan. So we're hearing here about the problems with the pressure chamber, that there seems to be this implosion that happened. Walk us through, what exactly does that mean in practical terms?
Well, yeah, this Titan appears to have imploded due to this catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber. We have to imagine that as violent as an explosion because of the immense pressure we have undersea. So let's remember, we're talking about a very hostile environment here, not made for humans. It's dark, it's cold, and there are enormous forces at work. At a depth where the debris was found, so around 4 kilometers, the sea pressure is around 400 times the pressure on land. That's about the same as having 35 elephants on your shoulders.
Wow. I mean, we don't know a lot at this point. We don't know about the timeline, but, the initial indications that we are indeed getting, does it seem as if there was any hope for the 5 who were on board?
Well, that's really important to stress here. The investigations are just about to start. It's very early days, and we have to wait for any information that's coming in over the next couple of hours, days, weeks, months. But right now, it seems very likely that the implosion took place and that it took place very early. So the US Coast Guard and the search team that they had deployed buoys to search for the missing vessel, and they did not detect any implosion. They deployed the buoys shortly after the signal, the communication was lost. But we learned, however, quite recently that the US Navy says it recorded a sound consistent with an implosion. And if this implosion really took place, the passengers would have been dead within milliseconds, probably.
We heard there in the piece some concerns over safety of this vessel in particular. Could this have been avoided? I mean, were those widely known about?
Yeah, as it's always easy to pinpoint in hindsight, but there were major concerns raised by submersible or marine experts. So first, the design of the Titan was unusual, so to say. Most sea subs are built spherically, and this one was tube-shaped to fit in 5 passengers because it was a tourism expedition. Also, the material was different. So it was made of carbon fibers, and questions have been raised about the reliability of this material under deep, deep sea pressures. And then the Titan had not been through any external independent certification process. These concerns were already raised in 2018. So it's very tragic to witness the loss of the 5 passengers 5 years later.
Some important perspective. Anna Carthouse from DW Science, thank you so much for bringing that insight. And we're going to get more now. We're joined by Colin Buckley, who is a remotely operated vehicle submersible pilot. He joins us from Oslo. We understand that a remotely operated vehicle found this debris. How difficult do you think it was to find it?
They were very lucky, I believe. I think some background here. I think what happened is they were very near the seabed when it actually imploded. To find the debris field so compact, that they must have been so close, otherwise it would have dispersed in the currents. So only 500 meters away, I wouldn't have thought they were far from the seabed when it happened. Once they picked up some debris, they would have then run a grid survey, basically running lines in the same direction. And then they'd have checked the whole area. But again, finding it, that was pretty good.
In searches like these, ROVs are said to be better than a vessel with a crew. Why is that?
Well, an ROV is like your computer. You switch it on, you switch it off. You don't need any support for it. It can sit on the deck of a vessel for days, weeks even, then go out and do a job. Relatively, they're much cheaper to operate than any manned vessel. And obviously, for 4,000 meters, you've got no chance of putting anybody down there that can effectively carry out a recovery. The ROVs these days are built with manipulators and so much of the kit. You can strap angle grinders to them, cutters, anything you want. It's all hydraulic. So you can basically do anything that you would have been able to do with humans and even more.
We understand that ROVs will also be involved in trying to find out why exactly this journey ended so tragically. Does it mean that debris will need to be lifted to the surface, or could it all be done just with ROVs operating on the ocean floor, you think?
I would suggest that they'll bring a vessel on site with a crane with a 4,000 meter wire and probably a basket on the end. They'll photograph everything on the seabed. There'll be so much coverage on video and still camera. And then they'll collect all this debris, put it in a basket and bring it to surface for analysis. I've no doubt that's how they'll go ahead.
Okay. There's been some speculation. Some have talked about, ROVs potentially accompanying vessels like this when they actually go on expeditions, when they go on missions. Do you see any role for that in the future?
I'm actually shocked they didn't have that sort of backup already. Listening to what everybody said over the last few hours, it does seem like they were on a shoestring, and they were saying that it's £250,000 per person, but in the offshore world, if you hire a boat out, you're looking $500,000 for a day for a general survey vessel. So they were running their costs very low. I think if they do this again, they probably have to expand an operation so there's much more backup, and also use beacons on the sub, which they never did, so they could pinpoint it at any point of the dive.
Okay, some important perspective. Thank you so much for your expertise, Colin Buckley, a remotely operated vehicle submersible pilot. We appreciate it.